So hello everyone, my name is Dave Foley with Hasmark Publishing International, and Sarah and I are here today with a very special guest. Deb Birdsall has written a wonderful book about her granddaughter, and perhaps Deb, you can tell us what's the book titled and who did you write it for?
Thanks, Dave, and thanks for having me with you this morning. The book is titled Overcoming My Mother's Addictions. And the book was written for, well, it's actually written for a lot of people, but most importantly, it's written as a tribute to my granddaughter, Lily. She's 11 years old, and she has, as the title of the book says, has dealt with a lot of challenging situations in her life because of her mother's choice to use drugs. And so I was literally spirit inspired to sit down and write this book.
There was a lot of events that happened during the course of her childhood that went into the book, and so it's quite an interesting story. You know, I found it incredibly interesting, and
it is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. The book truly is a labor of love on my part. I know that when we as children hold things in, when bad things happen and we hold things in, then it tends to define us in not a very positive way as we get older. We can make choices that aren't healthy choices, and that can lead to a lot of problems in life. So it was quite interesting the way that it all manifested. I really thought I was going to be writing a book about my husband and myself and the challenges and opportunities that we faced in working through the legal system to protect my granddaughters through this whole process. And instead, I woke up at 3:33 one morning last January with the knowing that, nope, get out of bed, you're going to write this book, and it's going to be written from the voice and the perspective of an 11-year-old girl, Miss Lily, and it is going to share her heart-wrenching experiences, but also the amazing lessons that she has learned in order to help her to overcome the situations that she has faced.
Brilliant.
You write your story from the perspective of your granddaughter, and you've told us that in the middle of the night you got inspired by it. Can you tell me if it was difficult writing from that kind of perspective?
You know, that's an interesting question, Sarah, because you would think that it would be, wouldn't you? I mean, most people would think, wow, how do I get into the mind of an 11-year-old? Maybe I'm just a big 11-year-old. I don't know. But but we have lived it so much. And when I sat down and started writing, I have to tell you, I don't feel like I did the writing. I felt like the writing came through me. The writing of the book was simple. I had a harder time writing the about the author page in the book than I did writing the entire book. But no, we've lived it so much, and I have seen Lily go through all of these things, and I just knew that there was a message that we needed to get out to the world. There are so many children that are being raised in an environment that they think is normal. And it's not healthy. It's just not healthy. And they need to understand that their parents' choices or the people in their lives, the choices that they make do not have to define who they are as an individual, as a child and as an adult. And so this book is really meant to inspire these children to know that they absolutely, through their mindset, through their thinking, through their belief system, that they can live a life that far exceeds what they have known in their growing up years. And so that is the primary audience that we're reaching out to, are those preteens and teenagers that are facing these things and understand that, or maybe don't understand. We want to help them to understand that through the lessons that Lily puts forth in the book, that they have ways that they can overcome the challenges that they personally are facing.
Yeah, and I can also see that, you know, the actual addicts that might read the book would also be inspired to clean up their act a little bit, because they sort of see the effects of what they're doing to everybody sort of in their circle. because it does affect everybody, not even just their children, although that's bad enough. And what more motivation do you need? But now their parents as well. So it goes up and down the line, if you will.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
It does, Dave. And along those lines, sorry for interrupting, but along those lines, there's something that I did want to share, because this is, I'm going to call this the first miracle of this book. This book's not even published yet. It's coming out September 8th on Amazon, as we know. And yet Lily's mom reached out to me and wanted to know if she could read the book. She saw it posted on Facebook and she wanted to know if she could read the book. And I allowed her to do that. And afterwards, she came out of the room and she told Lily, she said, Lily, she said, I am so proud of you for doing this. And she said, and I want you to know that keeping things inside of you is not a good thing to do. She said, I know that from experience. It does cause you to make some very bad choices in life. And she said, and I hope that this helps you to heal and move beyond it. And she said, and I really do hope that it helps a lot of other people as well. Yeah. So I'm calling that the first miracle of this book, Dave. I mean,
I'll say,
to me, I was just
inspired myself.
The most amazing thing.
Yeah, I was inspired myself just when I read it, because what, reading what Lily had gone through at such a young age, I reflected on my own childhood. Okay. And everybody has their cross to bear in life, whatever, but it's nothing like what she had to do.
Right.
And the other, I'm so inspired by Lily's ability to find her solution from within, not from without. In fact, in spite of what's without, in spite of her surroundings, in spite of her condition,
right,
that she's looking at. So that's amazing.
Well, there's a very spiritual aspect to.
Yeah,
there's a very spiritual aspect to this book as well. I mean, one of the chapters talks about her guardian angel that would come and would sit with her when she was hiding in her bedroom, listening to her parents fighting and arguing, and so she has had higher sources that have brought her through this and have shown her her path. But then again, she's also had individuals in her life that have continuously supported her and encouraged her. And that's one of the messages in the book, is that of Lily's life lessons, that's what we're calling them, is that you need to have at least one person that loves you unconditionally, that is there for you, that no matter what your attitude is, what your actions are, that you are loved and that you are honored and that you are blessed and that you are just the luckiest person in the world.
Right.
And for Lily, that I'd like to say that her grandpa and I, have been the ones that have been there for her consistently, but others have as well. And that's the other audience that we're reaching out to, Dave, is the grandparents. My goodness, there are just so many grandparents raising grandchildren right now in this world because of addiction primarily, and for other reasons. And so this book, it's my hope that this book will actually help to not only affirm them and help them to recognize the value of the sacrifice that they are making in their lives in order to provide a stable environment and a loving environment for their grandchildren, but also to help them understand, the grandparents to understand a little bit better about maybe why their grandchildren act the way that they do. The things that have happened to the grandchildren, the adverse childhood experiences that you can understand it from their perspective and have more empathy, not just sympathy, but empathy, then it makes it a little bit easier to deal with it.
Agreed.
Because it's not an easy challenge raising grandchildren. And none of us are perfect at it. So that, that's the third audience. We have the addicts. I'm praying that this book get into every rehabilitation facility out there. If another addict takes a look at it and says, I was thinking about getting clean, or I was thinking about going back to using, or has any question as to whether or not they want to move forward with their recovery, and they read this and they say, hey, I don't want to do this to my children anymore, then that's going to be the biggest blessing that comes out of this book. But I tend to, how do I want to say this? I have described addiction in the family as a pipe bomb. And it's a metal tube filled with shrapnel. And when it explodes, everyone around is collateral damage. And unfortunately, in this world, we can all relate to that description. Yeah. In fact, the addict tends to be, while they're using, the one that is least affected because they are numb to what's going on. Yeah. But there is so much collateral damage that happens because of addiction. And I don't have all the answers to the addiction issue. And I'm not sure I have most of the answers to the raising a grandchild issue. But we all learn as we go, and we can choose to look at it and say, okay, this is awful, this is terrible, and crawl in a hole and become hateful or hurtful, or we can just choose to look at it and say, hey, this is an opportunity to learn. This is an opportunity to grow. This is an opportunity to, as the end of the book says, Lily, trying to be the best Lily that she can be.
That's great to hear. Has Lily read the book, and how does she feel about it?
Lily has. She has read the book, and she gave me some pointers on things that I needed to change as we went along. Mm-hmm. And she has said that this is her book. This is her story. She wants this story put out there. She recognizes that there is an inherent value, and she is hopeful that it will bring blessings to others that are dealing with similar circumstances. And she knows many children just in her own school system that are dealing with similar things. So she understands that this is even more than just about her. Yeah. This is really about creating a movement. It's really about opening up the communication and the dialogue to be able to address this situation on a I guess grassroots level, you might want to say, from the trenches.
I want to talk to the people who are watching this video for a second, because having read the book, I can tell you it's a fairly easy read. You touch on a number of issues, a number of points, and there's a number of episodes or chapters, things that happen along the way. But you don't really dwell on it to beat on it as much as, can you believe this happened? Can you believe this? So it makes it a somewhat easy read. Yet, like you just said, it gets that conversation started. It enlightens, it teaches, it goes down the reality of that road that I think a lot of most people either can't imagine or just don't foresee happening. So it's really good to be able to tell that story from that point of view. But because it's such an easy read, I'm wondering if there's another book on the horizon that delves deeper into this, or maybe a continuation, maybe in the next 5 years, as Lily gets into her teenage years and such.
It'll be interesting to see what does happen down the road. I haven't been inspired to write anything new yet, but I have a feeling, as the questions have been coming up from people as I've been talking about the book, that there probably is going to be another book about protecting our grandchildren and protecting our children. One never knows. It'll be interesting to see, Dave.
When you're inspired, you're inspired.
When you're inspired, you're inspired. Yes, I never set out to be an author, but when you have a message that's so very important to get out there, you sit down and you do what you need to do, and it has been an amazing learning experience for me as well. So I deal with as I work through this process. It's not an easy process, but all over the world as I work this process, I have just made friends with other authors, and you guys have been incredible in helping me to understand the process. I can't imagine trying to do it myself. There's no way, absolutely no way. I don't have enough time left in my life to figure it out myself. But this has been quite a journey, and actually the journey is just starting, because once the book gets out there, I just absolutely know that I did want to say one thing that has come of it, just in sharing it with a few friends, is that the different emotions that it really resonates with people. Because I've had one of my friends who read it, who was in tears, and she had to put it down several times because it reminded her of her childhood. Yep. And she's an adult now, and it really brought up a lot of emotions for her. And she then, was faced with the decision: do I deal with those emotions, or do I just stuff them back down again? And so that was the beginning of a healing process for her. Another associate of mine who read it, she was in tears and in awe, or I guess horror is a better word, because she realized that her relationship with her ex-husband, the father of her children, that relationship was so bad, and the father was so controlling, that it made her just cry over what her children had to go through, what they had to witness. Mm-hmm. So this book is surprising me in that it's touching people on so many different levels. It's not just a kid's book. And it's not a kid's book. I mean, it's really not. And it's a completely true story.
I can see that there probably will be other books coming. That's what I'm thinking.
There may be. Not committing to anything, but there may be.
I'm not asking for a commitment, but I can, you're going to be inspired for sure. You mentioned September 8th as the release date. It's going to be available on Amazon. How can people learn more about you? You have a website, perhaps?
Well, they can go to my website, which is just about to be launched. So don't go there yet, but very soon. I would say probably the middle of August, it'll be ready and launched. So before that, just do your social media thing. Go to Deb Birdsall author, DEBBIRDSALL author on Facebook. And or you can also go to Deb Birdsall on Instagram. You'll see me in this shirt, so I'm trying to keep continuity here as my profile. And we're putting some things out there about the book, sharing a little bit more information every week. And also, you'll even be able to go ahead and pre-order the book on my website before the actual launch date, if you choose to do that.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful. And we'll say goodbye to everybody. Thanks so much for watching. And we'll see you next time. Bye.